Trigger warning. This episode contains discussions of traumatic events, including but not limited to sexual exploitation. Listener discretion is advised. Today, we will hear from an incredible figure competitor and gold medalist in women's figure true novice and open class for the Canadian Physique Alliance King Kong Open Championships. Based in the Greater Toronto Area, she currently works as a building operator and fulfills her passion as a fitness coach for MishFit Lifestyle Coaching. She is not your average fitness coach. She goes deep into understanding your diet, lifestyle, and your mental health with her background in psychology and sociology from York University. During the pandemic, she also completed a course on mental health intervention. After encountering the most horrific childhood experience, she developed a coping strategy that led to a decade of serial dating. Fortunately, her search for love from others turned into a healthy love for herself and for fitness, all of which stemmed from juggling life's lemons. Now, I'd like to introduce you all to one of the sweetest people I've ever met. Michelle Morin.
Thank you so much for joining the Lemon's Head podcast. I'm so excited, just to meet you in person. We've kind of been texting and communicating virtually, but I'm so glad we finally found time to meet. So I just want to ask you a few quick rapid fire questions. These are just fun little questions to get to know you. Netflix account, own or steal?
Steal. Definitely steal.
From?
My friends.
Awesome. You're good friends.
Oh, yeah.
Go-to karaoke song?
Don't Stop Believing. That's your, a lot of people's go-to.
Agreed. When life throws you lemons?
Oh, I thought of this one. Take the lemon and make whatever you want out of it, but take the seed and plant the seed and grow another lemon tree.
Oh my God, I love that one. That's awesome. Then you'll have more lemons.
Exactly.
I love it. Thank you. Okay, so that was a fun stuff. Not to say that we're not going to have fun next, but we are going to get into the meat of this interview, and I'm really excited because I get to know you for the first time along with all of our listeners. So thank you again for joining us.
Oh.
What is your favorite hobby and what are you most passionate about?
I think you already probably know.
I think anyone who follows you on Instagram will know.
Yeah, that's training.
Love it.
Michelle, what are you doing? Oh, I'm training. I'm at the gym. Yep. If I'm not working, I'm at the gym.
So how often do you train?
Almost 7 days a week.
Wow. How long are your sessions each?
They're about 2 hours max.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Good for you. And do you stagger your training throughout the day? Do you do 2-a-days, 3-a-days, or just one full 2 hour, up to 2 hour sessions?
So like off season, it's just my weight training sessions with like mild cardio in the morning. So like I'll do 25 minutes fasted in the morning and then I'll do my weight training later in the day.
That's awesome.
But then when I'm on season, it's twice a day again, but like much longer.
Right.
Yeah.
And how did you get into it at all?
It was like a whole I went through a whole life-changing experience where like my life led me to change gyms. And so I moved gyms, then I went to LA Fitness. And I met like a whole bunch of new people who were into bodybuilding. And they all introduced me to the training and I followed through with it. But I never had the ambition to compete, per se. Like I never had that goal. And I would just train. Like I just train and I'd eat. I would like train to eat. Like I would just go lift a lot of weights and eat a hamburger. And that was just like, and like I put on a fair bit of size. And then, eventually it led to being like, oh, you should compete. You should compete. And I'm like, I don't know. And then it just turned into, you know what, maybe I should. And then, yeah. And then I just went for it.
Right. Can you tell us a little bit about that fitness journey in terms of your competitions and what you've accomplished so far?
Yeah, so did my first show November.
2022?
Yes, 2022.
Awesome.
Yeah, I started my prep in July of last year. So it was 4 months long of
That's a long prep.
strict. Yeah. So my coach wanted to make sure that I was properly conditioned for show day. And it also being my first show, him and we didn't really know how my body was going to respond.
Right.
And he doesn't really know how my body responds to food and the training, right? And how long I need. So yeah, it was like 20 weeks of, yeah, it was long.
It sounds very long, but I feel that the longer it is, the more sustainable it is. I think my first prep was probably about 8 weeks long, but it was crash dieting, which not good.
No.
I don't know about you, but did you lose your menstrual cycle in terms of the pattern? Oh, you did as well.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think it kind of comes with the territory for most women who compete.
It's not healthy.
But it's hella fun.
Yes, it is.
And it's just such a huge accomplishment. But I don't want to knock fitness competitions because they in their own right have so much to offer an individual from determination and, just overall perseverance, kind of how you describe yourself. And I think it's really, really important to remember that it's not for everyone. But I think so long as you understand what you're getting into, you take the lemons that come with it.
Yes, exactly. Very perfectly put. Yeah.
So how did you enjoy the competition? What did your diet entail?
My diet was 6 meals a day, but like small portion throughout the day, right? Like specifically what my meals were, or just like you mean generally?
Just general.
General, yeah. 6 meals a day. You got your protein, your veg, and your carb, right? No carbs before bed. Yeah.
That's amazing. And can you tell everyone what the results were of this competition?
So I won my true novice. So first time ever competing. And then I won my height category because like bodybuilding goes by height, right? Height and weight. And then I won that. And then I ended up in the overalls. And then I won the overalls.
So awesome.
Yeah.
Good for you. I'm so proud of you, but I also just feel like you didn't just win that competition for yourself. I think you represent a lot of women who either want to be into bodybuilding or have and can't, like myself. But, just for everyone who loves fitness. I think you do it for all the women out there too. So thank you. But also you should just be so proud of yourself and how far you've come.
Oh, thanks so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That's so sweet.
So we'll dive a little bit more into bodybuilding and fitness throughout our conversation. But I also want to take a step back and kind of ask, who inspires you most and why?
So when I had a whole life change, and we'll get into that, I'm sure.
Yes,
later.
we will.
And I switched gyms, and it was like, I was like, oh my gosh, like my whole life is changing. Like I'm scared, I'm alone, I'm doing this on my own. Changed my whole scenery, brand new friends. And I met like a whole slew of friends there, but one person in specifically, his name is Jeff. And he's an IFBB pro.
Oh, awesome.
And he just took me under his wing, and he trained me for 2.5 years.
Wow.
And he trained me exactly the way he trains. So I was getting guidance from him in just everything. Like I was learning like everything that there is to bodybuilding, from like food and training and the mindset too, right? Like you need to be around people who have that mindset.
It's true.
Right? Or it's just like it doesn't work. So yeah, he's like somebody who really inspires me. He's a retired police officer of 32 years. He's done like Marine, SWAT. He actually just went through 2 years ago. He went through a spinal fusion, and I went to his house. I'd pick him up and I'd bring him to the gym, and I would stack all of his weights on for him. But like this guy
That's
just
training for you in itself.
literally like, but he's like a white Ronnie Coleman. Like,
wow.
There's nothing that like would stop this man from, and I just seeing that, being around that type of energy is so inspiring because you're like, oh my gosh, like you're like 50 and there's nothing that stops you from doing anything, right? Yeah, I'd say that really inspires me.
Thank you for sharing that, and kudos to Jeff.
Yeah. Kudos to Jeff.
What experience would you describe as a turning point in your life?
Okay, so this is it.
Now we're in the meat. We're here. Let's go for it.
Turning point in my life was so in high school, right? I think like some people have a great experience in high school. Other people have really bad experiences, right? Unfortunately, mine was a very bad experience. And so that kind of suppressed me as a person, right? You're very like, you're depressed. You feel like you're alone. That led me to a place where I always felt like I needed a relationship. I always needed to be with somebody, right? It was
an intimate relationship or platonic relationship?
Intimate. So like romantic. Like I
Okay.
felt like I needed a partner all the time, right?
Right.
And I feel like there's a lot of girls in high school that feel that way.
Agreed.
Right? They can't just like live without somebody.
Right.
Right? And it's just like the idea more so, I think. But anyways, so I was caught in this like relationship after relationship, right? And I was dating somebody for 4 years.
Still in high school?
This was in university.
Okay.
So it went through like, and my mentality didn't change much through high school into university, I would say. It kind of dragged on, and it was a lot of stuff that I didn't deal with, right? On my own.
Unresolved trauma.
Yes. So, turning point in my life was telling my boyfriend at the time I need a break and taking that break for myself and being like...
Good for you for realizing you needed that break.
Yeah. And I think like it took a long time to break that cycle. And I was just like, enough. Like enough of like... I felt like I had to give and give and give in a relationship. And I was tired. I was irritated. I was angry. I'm like, I'm not who I want to be.
Do you think it was that specific relationship that got you to that point? Or do you believe that it was just the cycle of being in a constant relationship?
I would say the cycle of being in a constant relationship. But then it also leading up to the idea of marriage. Where I was like, that was like, whew. I'm like...
Time out.
I'm like, I need a break. I'm like, this is leading into somewhere where I'm not even ready for it. And that's when I really realized, I just cut it off. And I felt like this weight lifting over me. But then I was like, oh, like, I'm scared. Like, I don't know what to do. I've never not been with anybody. And that was like my coping mechanism since I was in high school, right?
Interesting.
So, yeah, my turning point was there. And then that's when I was going to the gym with him. And for like 4 years, he introduced me to the gym, but more in like, it was funny, like a powerlifting style kind of training. And I broke it off. I switched gyms. And that was the turning point in my life. So, in 8th grade, and this is when it all started. Like, I don't know what it is, and it drives me crazy, the fact that, like, us girls are like, I don't know what it is. Like, it's like a thing that switches in our brain, and we're like, I like boys, you know? And so I had my very, very, very first relationship in 8th grade, and, like, it was, like... I don't know. I was so obsessed, right? And you're young.
I think that's every girl.
Like, right? But he ended it with me, and I was devastated, like crying. I remember it was during recess, and I fell to the ground, and I was like bawling. And thinking back, I'm like, oh my God. Right? And so I was so traumatized by that. And it was weird. So I mentioned I was in a French school. So French high school goes from grade 7 to 12.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Right. And that's how it is over in Quebec. And so
Okay.
here they run their school boards the same way.
Right.
And so we had contact with people older, right?
Right.
And I know at the time it was a lot of concern for parents. They're like, why is my 7th grader going to be in the same building as 12th graders?
I can see that. They're essentially adults.
Yeah. So anyways, relationship ended. In 8th grade, I was so upset. And then a guy from 10th grade reached out to me through social media. And then he asked to meet up the next day during school hours, right? And so basically he was like, let's meet up. Let's hook up, right? And so it led me to the next day. We met in the cafeteria area. And then he was like, follow me. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, I don't know what's happening. You're just kind of like in this trance. Like, I didn't know. I wasn't, I was in 8th grade, right? And so I followed him. And we went like far back behind the school, behind a fence, right? And then he was just like flat out. And it was during the winter time too, right? And this is a very important piece of it. So we get there, right? It's just him and I, and he basically just tells me, he's like, get down on your knees, right? And so, of course, I'm in 8th grade. I'm like, I don't know what the heck is going on. And so...
Do you even know? I personally didn't know what that meant in 8th grade. Like,
how
were you feeling?
I was like, what? Like, I was like, and I just did it. And I don't know, like, why, right? But like, it was almost like I'm alone and I'm vulnerable and like, this is just happening. Like, right? So, yeah, that happened. And then as we were walking back, I could see footprints in the ground of the snow, which there wasn't before.
Oh.
Right?
My God. Okay. I'm getting scared.
So I get back to school and I hear a teacher yell at me down the hallway. And she's like, Michelle Rose, like, 'cause French, right? And my heart sank, right? Like, I'm like, oh crap. I'm done for. Right? She pulls me into a room and she asks me, she's like, did you meet up with him? I'm not going to say his name. And I was just like, like a deer in headlights.
Yeah.
I shut down. Like, I didn't know. I didn't say anything. I was just quiet. And I just started bawling.
Yeah.
Right? But on my way back walking, I saw those footprints in the ground and I was like, oh crap. I'm like, people saw. Right? His friends probably knew. So later on that day, there's a rumor going around that there's a video out. Yeah. And that's like, yeah, that was just, yeah. So my parents...
I'm so sorry you went through all that.
Yeah. I've come a long way. I'm like, that
Absolutely.
was 8th grade. But,
of course.
When you're little, something like that, everybody has different levels of resiliency, right?
Yeah.
And trauma looks different for everybody.
Right.
But that was something that I held on to like all the way through to like my early 20s.
Right.
Yeah.
And that certainly explains why you would be looking for love through relationships.
Yeah.
You're not looking for, one night stands throughout university. You're looking for real love because of that traumatic experience. Yeah. And to your point, it needs to be addressed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably a month or two afterwards, my parents had me go see somebody and they would drive me to her. I would talk with her and then I'd leave and I'd be like, Mom, like this, it's nice to talk to somebody about this, but then it's also in the back of my mind too, like, I know that talking to this therapist, she's probably going to go talk to my mom afterwards. And it wasn't
you were
like...
scared of that confidentiality.
Yeah, because, like, you're just a kid.
Right.
You're like...
You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know if your therapist did break that confidentiality with your parents at all? Or did she keep everything private and secure for you?
As far as I know, everything's private and secure, so...
Good.
Yeah.
And how long were you seeing a therapist for?
I'd say like a half a year. Not too long. I'd see her once a week.
And how did you find it helpful?
It was helpful in the sense of I was able to get things off my chest.
Good.
Which is exactly what I needed at the time, because you just need a vent. But other issues started coming out about when you're dealing with trauma, like not eating, right?
Did you experience that?
Yeah. Like I went through a phase, and it was like my whole mentality was I need to be with somebody. I need to look like a certain way for them. And at the time it was like, you need to be skinny, like don't eat and be skinny, because skinny is beautiful. At
least that's what we were taught back then,
right?
Through media and advertising.
Yeah. So other problems came about, right? Not like eating disorder so much, but when, for example, my period would come, I would literally, they called it a vasovagal attack. And it was like,
what is that?
Right? I'm like, what is this? Anyways. So
I'm so curious.
I know, it's weird. It's weird. It's like when you're bleeding excessively and you just pass out and you cramp up and you're going through, like, my hands, every time my period would come, it wasn't like, it hasn't came yet. It was like a day or so before. I would clam up, like my whole body would just, because I wasn't eating properly, right? I was deficient in vitamins is what we found out later. But, you go to the doctor and you're like, what, she's 16 years old. Like, what does she need? Right. And he's like, let's put her on birth control. And my parents, because like my mom's, you're so religious, she's like, absolutely not.
Right.
Right. And so after that, we went to a naturopath doctor.
Oh, good for you.
Right. And I'm like so blessed for this because, I mean, everybody has their own experiences and all that. But my older sister, she's been on birth control for like a very, very long time. And now she has a bunch of health problems and had problems having a kid and whatever. So for me, I'm happy that it wasn't the route for me at 16 years of age. You know what I mean? I know a couple friends that have issues from going on so early. That's a whole other topic. So anyways, all I was deficient in was vitamin B.
Wow. After all that.
After all of that. The whole, like, that was it. 2 weeks later, like, when I was just about to get my period, like, nothing happened.
So I assume you started taking supplements through your naturopath's suggestion?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and that was it.
Wow.
Right? And that's where I was like, that's crazy. Like, it's so wild that, like, vitamins, you think, oh, you take your vitamins.
A lot of people don't know the value of vitamins. My partner is one. But a lot of people think it's like this myth that they don't do anything really, because you don't always see the impact right away.
Yeah.
For some people, it can show, the positive impact of vitamins might not show till your 60s or 70s. Yeah. For you, it was a matter of 2 weeks because you were deficient in something, right? So vitamins are pretty powerful, among other types of supplements, and even just regimes or diets. Every single person and every body is different.
Yeah.
So when you start to determine what the root cause is, whether it's through a naturopath or even your westernized doctor, it's so important to discover what your issues are, because medication can sometimes be helpful, but sometimes they're also just a Band-Aid fix. And in your case, I think it would have been a Band-Aid fix.
Yeah. Because why weren't they like, well, what's your diet like?
Right. Right. But, I'm hearing your story thus far. I'm actually really, really happy that you kind of had the support that you needed from your family, primarily your parents. It just sounds like they're very much in tune with alternative medicine that really helped you in your recovery journey.
Yeah. I am so thankful for that.
Yeah.
Because like my health could have been completely different.
Absolutely. I'm really happy to hear that you had that support. And it sounds like it was quite dynamic and well-rounded, where it wasn't just, let's see the family doctor, put you on some meds and be on your way. No, it was, I feel like you were able to address it from a mental health standpoint, from an emotional standpoint, a physical standpoint. It sounds like you really got the care that you needed throughout the whole process.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good for you.